How do I create emotional connection with my wife who knows everything about me? That's what we're going to talk about here today on the C Note Show with myself and Cynthia Cruz. Cynthia and I have a combined 50,000 hours in this field of teaching psychology, and we specialize in intimate connection within long-term monogamous relationship, including how do I dance the staircase of intimacy? How do I grow safety, trust, shared adventure through emotional intimacy, shared vision, and physical intimacy, even if none of those things are happening right now. Or if you want to bring these to an advanced level, that's what we teach every single day. We're here to learn how to love and lead with Mojo like a king, because she wants safety, inspiration, and sexual leadership. And we want to avoid mistakes and learn how to solve problems. So let's get into how do I create emotional connection with my wife who knows everything about me? Briefly using the staircase of intimacy, but we're going to bounce into a different topic here off of this today. And this was prompted by a post from the forum. This man is in our private Kingly Life Path, the KLP membership as well. And yes, how do I create an emotional connection with my wife who knows everything about me? And we have nothing new to talk about and no excitement of meeting and getting to know a new person. Also, what does emotional connection mean to a woman? So let's start with what does emotional connection mean to a woman? Cynthia, what would you say? What does emotional connection mean to a woman?
Yeah, that's a great question. Emotional connection for a woman means that she feels like what she's speaking about is heard. She feels known, not just on the outside of what she does or what she does with her time, but what's going on her inside, and that matters to the person across from her. And that, the in partnership, she knows there's a net of safety that kind of wraps around whatever her experience is, and that experience has a place to be shared, to be put down, to be invited, to be talked about.
Yeah, very nice. And so let me play the other side of the table, right? I can hear already. So what if she doesn't want emotional connection, at least right now? Or what if she's steeled herself with her masculine frame, her masculine shielding, where she doesn't necessarily want emotional connection right now? Talk with us about that phase of a woman's perception, and how do we know if she does all of a sudden want emotional connection on a particular day or in a particular month, as maybe they've been separated. Maybe she's said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. How can a man know if she does want emotional connection?
Yeah. And I know, like, topics like this, when it's in the moment face to face with a woman who's not wanting that or even pushing that away, I imagine it feels incredibly confusing and excruciating, because you and I both know emotional connection is what women, the feminine, needs to thrive. So signals or symbols that she is wanting to invite that, even after a period of pushing away, sometimes can be as small as you just catch her looking at you, her watching you. It's almost like she's taking you in with some curiosity and wondering what you're going to say next. It could be the smallest element of an invitation toward touch, where maybe she's totally pushed touch away before. And it may be something where she either invites a conversation, invites a walk, or invites an environment where she might get to start talking with you about her day. And what happens when a woman's pushing all that away is she's stuffed down that very core need of her to connect with you behind a filter of fear, and I feel a little bit of power, my own power, pushing you away. And so she's living behind this mask of I don't need connection in the moment, I just need to feel this sense of pushback that's giving me a little bit of energy, versus sometimes the more vulnerable feeling she has in inviting connection put her more in touch with things like heartache and pain and crying, which can sometimes feel really scary or off-putting to her if she's trying to be strong or stoic.
Yeah, well said. So gentlemen that are here live, If you're seeing this in your woman, or you have seen this, any of this in your woman, go ahead and punch a 1 into the chat. I want to see how many of you guys are resonating with this topic. And certainly if you have questions, absolutely. So Cynthia, let me ask, can a woman just go on forever? This is what guys ask themselves, right? And have asked me in private practice. Can a woman just go on forever in that shielded way? Like, what happens if I'm fine, I don't need a man, I'm just going to be my own man? Maybe she's thinking that, or maybe she said that, or maybe she's wanting to rediscover finances for herself, find a new identity for herself. She never has felt like she's been on her own or taken care of herself. It's another way of saying, I don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
So can a woman go on like that, or what happens that you've seen with your work?
She could go on for a really long time, especially if she's never really dove into her own identity or that feeling of, I can do things for myself. She could get a lot of energy from that. But eventually, at some point, whether it's 3 months from now or 6 months from now or 6 years from now, that I can just do this all myself. I don't need anyone else. It's like the feminine trying to subsist on eating steel and expecting that that's going to make her feel relaxed and full inside. And eventually she's going to need like real sustenance of connection to someone else, sharing story, or some sort of emotional rise and fall in relationship, to feel like she is alive and is happy and fulfilled and not just on this treadmill of life.
And we as men can relate to wanting to feel purpose and success in the world, and that being our only focus. And it sounds like maybe she's trading in her way of being to try this other way to feel focus and purpose. But then what happens if that's all that she's eating steel along the way? Is she going to yearn for emotional connection at some point?
Yeah. Yes. Is like her sense of purpose a good thing? Absolutely. But again, let's say the feminine loves to live in a world where there's color. And when it becomes all this false pretense of I'm my own masculine all the time, the world starts feeling like shades of gray to her. And she could get really, really depressed, have a lot of like health issues, be really, really exhausted, or just trying to find a sense of life and fulfillment in ways that band-aid, like buying clothes, trying to buy things, and it never fulfills the hunger. It's a really hungry place for a woman to be in.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So let's take a look at the chat and go over to you guys. I see Jeff's on the screen. Jeff, can you talk today? Able to come in? I think I saw some posts for you on the forum, unless I'm mistaken.
I can.
Yeah. Has something shifted in your relationship, or did I misread the forums recently?
Oh yeah, she fucking bombed it. We're done.
So, okay. So say more. Go ahead.
I got the love you but not in love with you. I need space. Let's try to work on it 3 years ago. And 2 years ago, thought we were coming back together. And then she started having a series of cosmetic surgeries, abdominoplasty, these sorts of things in an attempt to start taking care of herself. That limited physical connection, but I was still, frankly, doing the best I could. And she had an event in March, which caused her to reevaluate where she's at and decided just not happy, just not getting there, and we're done.
Are you open to say what this event is, or do you know what this event is?
I worked at an auto shop for 4 years in college. I've replaced a motor in my Mustang in the garage, in the driveway. I've built a motorcycle. I'm pretty friggin' handy. I did a brake job on her car, and a wheel fell off on the highway.
Oh shit!
So she did get it not under control, but she didn't hit anything. She didn't get hurt. Our son was with her, and she had that near-death experience and unleashed massive amounts of anger directed at me and caused her to reevaluate that she's not happy. She doesn't know what it'll take to be happy. We never came back together. And at this point, her masculinity and shield has been up for long enough. And this one has caused me to put up mine. And we're amicable. We're still in the house. I'm buying her out of the house. And if she turned around tomorrow and said, I don't know what I'm doing, I want to come back, I don't think I could let her.
Mm.
I was going to ask you about that, Jeff. So where you seem a little excited or pissed off or something in that realm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pissed off. But everything, Cynthia, you just said through her entire evolution of these last 3 years rings true. She hasn't ever wanted to discuss any of it. She hasn't, frankly, I haven't seen any effort on her part to turn back in, even over the 3 years. She claims she has, and in her mind, I believe she believes she has. And from the outside looking in, her level of effort is closing her eyes and hoping.
Yeah. So tell me, Jeff, what do you want? This is might feel like a trite question at this point, but what do you want in relationship? What would you have loved to have had happen between the two of you that doesn't have to be with only that one woman, that can be with a different woman in the future? But what would you like to have happen? Pretty
much before this most recent gutting, I've said to her, what I want is mutual respect, open affection. We went to the casino a few weeks ago and saw another just couple at another table. You know, the woman just draped over the man's arms, and you know the look. And I don't even remember the last time she's complimented me.
Yeah. Well, super painful, of course. And I'm wondering, since we know you fairly well from these calls and such, I'm wondering, do you feel, and again, just be honest, right? Do you feel any relief? Is there any kind of you're on the other side of something at this point?
Yeah. Just living in limbo for 3 years, thinking I'm doing all right. But I to be honest, I've never let go of the anxiety of always looking over my shoulder. Is it working? Is she really coming back? So I'm going through waves of anger and resentment and relief and some forward looking. Mostly right now, I'm focused on the kids. We've told the kids, there's no stopping this train, and I don't want to stop this train. I want to get through the next couple of months, figure out the finances, figure out the divorce math, and split.
Yeah, it feels as though you're ready. And this work, as you know, Jeff, this work is never about splaying ourselves wide open forever.
Yeah.
This work is about learning skills within ourselves, becoming that man we're proud of being, the mountain lion, as Steve Forsman would say, that we're proud to be, and then invite her into that space with us. And we can never force her, of course.
Yeah.
Well, proud of you for being here, man. Absolutely. No matter what. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. We're here for you. Certainly.
Thanks.
Yeah, Nevin, thanks for raising your hand. Come on in. How are you relating to this conversation, please?
Yeah, I mean, so related to this part about talking about, if are you going to lose that connection, right? Because I think I know the answer to that. Because I feel like separating, I gave her space. I feel like we totally lost the connection, and then she had put on this armor that she had on for a long time, and I thought, okay, this is what we're doing right now. She's going to figure her stuff out. She's on her journey. She's doing that thing. I'm doing my thing, creating an independent line for each other that perhaps maybe one day we, reconnect and try to figure out what this is. But I found out this weekend that she's moved on. She's in another relationship, and it was pretty damn painful. And to know that she gave me this whole speech end of last summer, right before we moved out of the house, about I'm not interested in men right now. I need to figure out my stuff. I need to figure out who I am and what I want. Brad Pitt could, burst through the door and I'd say, get out of here. This whole speech, like out of a monologue, out of a movie. And I was like, I took that to heart. I was like, okay, I hear you loud and clear. Like, you do you, I'll do me. I know I have so much to work on, and this is a good thing. This could really be a good. I saw the value in this, and I gave her space. And now I'm like regretting giving her too much. I did give her too much space now, and now this other man just swooped in there. Some acquaintance of hers she worked with, years ago. People can read between the lines on social media. They see that we're not posting pictures of each other for 6 months. They're like, maybe I should reach out to her and see if they're having problems.
With like a cigar, when I reach out to her, see?
Clearly, I mean, clearly someone did that. Anyway, and she's now fully in it with him. She opened up her femininity to him. Maybe he's this wonderfully masculine framed guy that has all his, sorry, someone's calling me at the same time. Has all his stuff figured out. and I'm just, inferior. I don't know. You know what I mean? How all these thoughts are coming in, and like, did I give her too much space? Should I have re-engaged at some point? Was, 9 months too long to kind of like get like totally back off? Like I'm now like
Sure. So
questioning.
let me jump in. Can I be balls honest with you, Nevin?
Yeah.
Okay. So she's been kind of shitting on your relationship for a long time,
Yeah.
right? And she's kind of been shitting on you personally for a long time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, is
Talking
that
shit.
fair?
She's been talking shit. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And certainly it's pain. I'm here. I'm in your corner, man. Right. It's like bro hug if I was in the room with you, certainly.
Yeah.
And this is not the same energy as I was saying with Jeff, but you know that she's not wanted relationship with you for quite a while, Nevin. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's things she said, and certain ways I kind of felt a little bit of a turn back towards me a few times. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So I say that
certain
because I want to
signals.
acknowledge. Yeah. I say that because I want to acknowledge that she's always going to have a place in your heart. All of the women that we've been with, that we've had any connection with, especially if you've had children with them, are always going to have a place in your heart.
Yeah.
They are. It doesn't mean you need to actively be in love with them for the rest of time, even though you would love your sense of security and attachment and safety is with that woman because she's been the one you've spent the most time with and had a child with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I totally acknowledge that. And that is what it is. And it's something that you're going to heal and you're going to breathe through. We've talked many times, right, Nevin? You're going to breathe, you're going to heal through. And it's okay and normal to feel anger at first, right, guys? Like totally normal. I'm not here to tell you shouldn't have emotions. That's good. You should process these things.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask Cynthia right now. So let me pause on you, Nevin. Ask Cynthia right now. Brad Pitt can walk through the door. I was fucking laughing at that earlier. I don't want to be around it. It's not about other men. Okay, Brad Pitt, giant cocked Brad Pitt could walk through the door. I don't know if he has giant cock, right? Like third arm Brad Pitt, baby's arm with an apple. Brad Pitt could walk through the door. I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio. I think she needs to be 19 if it's Leonardo DiCaprio. But Leonardo DiCaprio could walk through the door. Okay, so how much of that does she really believe? This guys are thinking, how much of that does she really believe? Which maybe she does believe it right now. And then what? And not to slander anyone, okay, and then when she goes out into the world, if she doesn't feel she's a part of a relationship, if she doesn't feel she's a part of something that's blooming with the staircase of intimacy, with verbal intimacy, emotional intimacy, shared vision, right, growing physical intimacy of some kind, or fluctuating physical intimacy of some kind, these aren't on the table in some way. What is she going to naturally feel a pull in the world around?
Yeah, and I would say in the moment when she says that, I fully believe that that's her authentic thought and her authentic belief. And we could tie that back into women they shift and change all the time, and their reality shifts and changes all the time. What she finds out in the world, if she's in this masculine, like digesting of steel and I'm fine and I don't need all this, and she hasn't really learned any more about her own identity or sourcing herself, someone who comes along and gives her a glass of water in the areas where she feels dried out and less feminine and dehydrated, is going to feel like, oh, this was what I was looking for. And what happens with that is then she's not truly learning that part of herself. There's a little bit of, I'll just use someone else's energy to feel better about the places where I've been.
Yeah. So that's something that I want to recognize, is that I didn't know that's exactly what Cynthia was going to say, but I'll jump off that in that if she's not growing, if she's not truly wanting to learn about her own self, her feminine experience, her heroine's journey from the inside out, or what success means to her in her masculine journey, her hero's journey on the outside, if she's not growing within that, she's going to fall back into old patterns that the two of you probably had a long time ago. And every man that shows up here is wanting to grow, learn about yourself, deepen, expand, have a better relationship and love connection than you ever necessarily had. And so if she's out there and if she's not doing her own work, you feel she's going to fall back into similar patterns, even if that drink of water feels refreshing in the moment.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you were joking about the third arm, but it's like she's in a different context. It's like she's missing an arm. And then she goes out in the world and someone's like, here, you can use my arm and this will feel a whole lot better. And could she learn and grow from that? Sure. But again, if it's not an internal journey, even if she said that's what she's wanted, but it's so uncomfortable to be on the internal journey, as soon as someone makes it feel easy, she'll lean into that. And the long-term consequence of that is then she'll just wind up in the same pattern all over again, expecting masculinity to solve all her problems and issues instead of really practicing a receiving feminine that can dance with an energy that is truly on point and has vision and groundedness and is really looking to embrace her in all that she is.
So let me play the other side of the table again for a minute. That's beautiful. Thank you. I can hear men, especially men, of course, that are here that come to this work, and we know you guys well. It's like, well, what's the fucking point of relationship then if she's just going to think the grass is always greener on the other side?
Yeah.
So play the other side for us for a few minutes here. What is it like when a woman does want relationship and she is learning about herself, say, and she's not just going to go bail and find Brad Pitt down the road?
Yeah.
What's the experience like for a woman from the inside of a woman's body and relationship when she does want to be a part of the relationship, when she is wanting to grow relationship with a man?
And I'm so sorry that I saw that comment, just yearn to meet where the grass is greener, and that just like kills me, because when a woman really does want relationship, the green grass is nowhere outside. It's in relationship with you. She feels the newness always in response with you. The way your masculinity inspires her, invites her, presses in to where she is aching to go deeper. That's inside of her. The greener grass is at different levels in her being, where it's infinite with you, just with you, infinite growth, infinite exploration. And that's like her truest adventure, what she gets to receive from you and how that filters through the greenery and the aliveness of her own body, that on her own, separate from relationship, doesn't happen at that kind of level and depth and earthiness and true new experience.
Thank you very much. And many of us, me included, fell into relationship a long time ago, right? When I was a very young man, not knowing what relationship can be, not knowing what a woman's internal experience is, or not knowing the lover and kingly skills that you are learning, that we all are all learning and practicing as a man. Right? And so can you have compassion for your younger self? Mistakes and momentum that your younger self began, the flywheel that you started spinning a long time ago, without collapsing in on ourselves, without shame, knowing that this is a normal experience for so many men. It doesn't mean you're a bag of shit. It doesn't mean that she's running down the street. It doesn't mean that Groucho Marx is going to snatch her up from underneath you if she's feeling deep and fulfilled within the relationship. And that's what we're here to explore. So I'm going to jump into a few more slides that I grabbed for today, and I'd love for y'all to ask questions. So raise your hand in Zoom, go to reactions, raise your hand, or post a question in the chat, especially for Cynthia. She's here for this call, the C-Note Show. So what can we do to grow more closeness, right? Verbal intimacy, emotional intimacy. That's the question, is how do I create emotional connection when she knows everything about me? Well, all of us are going to move into disillusionment phase of relationship, or where the newness wears off after roughly 18 months of the brain chemicals being released of the honeymoon phase. So all of us are going to move into that space. And so you may have heard of the 36 questions to fall in love. This is from these two psychologists, Arthur and Elaine Aron, both PhDs. And they released this findings in this experiment in, I believe it was 1997, in the 1990s. And it was titled The Experimental Generation of Interpersonal Closeness. Yeah. So researchers are to see if two strangers can develop an intimate connection just from asking each other a series of questions. increasingly personal questions. So I'm going to jump forward. At the end of the experiment, the pairs of couples were asked to spend 4 uninterrupted minutes staring into each other's eyes. Yeah, Jeff, my woman may have no interest in staring into my eyes for 4 minutes. She may have no interest in answering any of these questions whatsoever. Okay, that's fair. But you still want to know the skills of how to connect with a woman, yes? Even if your woman doesn't want that right now, or if she's stealing herself off with her masculine shield, you still want to know if and when she does open, or if and when you even want to, because maybe you don't even want to right now connect with a woman. That's fine. But you want to learn these skills. Yeah. If you do something new and challenging together, that reminds you of how exciting it can be with your partner. And it's incumbent on all of us to bring this adventurous spirit into our lives, whether it's career or your hobbies or your own personal self, getting to the mountains or whatever it may be, and in our relationship as well. We want to have these skills. It says one key pattern associated with the development of a close relationship among peers, peers or anyone, is sustained, escalating, reciprocal, personalistic self-disclosure. And the research couple, the Aarons, and their fellow researchers write in a paper, the core of the method we developed was to structure such self-disclosure between strangers. And not to belabor those paragraphs there, I want to grab the first set of questions. And you can search these online, the 36 questions to fall in love, or the 36 questions. So here's my proposition to you. When is the last time that you asked your woman, or any woman really, but your woman especially, or a stranger, let's say you're trying to get to know, any of these questions? Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? Would you like to be famous? In what way? Before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say and why? What would constitute a perfect day for you? When did you last sing to yourself? And so on. Again, you can search for these online. So Cynthia, what's important? What maybe enlivens a woman, let's say, that's just met a man or deep in relationship for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, about these kinds of questions? And this is just the first wave, guys. They get more deep after these first dozen questions too. For what in your life do you feel most grateful? If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? Mm-hmm. What's inspiring or exciting about these kind of questions? Why would this help a woman feel deep with a man?
Yeah, and there is something I said near the beginning of this call, which I know is not always very concrete. It's like she wants to be known. Women want to be known on the inside, heard and seen, not just for the actual words they're speaking, but for the secrets inside of themselves that they've never uttered or maybe never even thought of. And these kinds of questions, or whether it's just energy of curiosity, that's the kind of thing where she feels that like, someone's reaching very gently into me and inviting forth different shades, different colors, different expressions, and things that I maybe have never uttered or shared with anyone else. And that's that kind of romantic, I'm seen and heard and understood, that with women often in relationship or outside dating can get kind of snarky about, in terms of, I don't feel known, but they don't know how to ask for that or offer themselves even to people who are saying like, I want to know you.
Yeah. And how many of us can really say, and I'm asking myself this question too, how many of us have put energy into these types of questions, into knowing her, even compared to our career or compared to our hobbies or compared to our connection with our children? How many of us continue to learn and practice lover energy in relationship? And this is, none of this is meant to be a slap in the face. This is okay, I would really like to know. I'd really like to have truth put on the table in front of me. That's how I want to live. I don't want to live in the dark. I want to have truth put on the table in front of me. And this is one way to grow. This is one way to answer the question, how do I create emotional connection with my wife who knows everything about me? There's 36 questions to start us off. So we have about 10 more minutes left on this call today, right now. And I would love for you to come in. And ask questions or say how you're relating to this conversation, certainly while we have Cynthia on here. Unmute yourself, come on in. Or maybe you're in Europe and you just haven't been here for a while and you want to come in and say hi to us. Come on in, unmute yourself.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Ian, good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I've got a question for you. So on the emotional connection, I think obviously what the guys have been talking about is the lack of it over a longer period of time. In the shorter periods of time, do you find it also fluctuates? So from day to day, week to week, and is it part of the ride of the emotions? And how best as a man can you deal with that? And how would the woman that's put that barrier up would hope for you to either break it down, or would they take it down themselves in the space of a day, 2, or a week?
Sure, that's a great question, and I'll bounce over to Cynthia here in a second. Is this a situation that you're in, or is this just a question that you thought of?
Yeah, it is actually, yeah, but it's something that's happened on previous occasions in a relationship I'm in. It's 3 or 4 months in, and I've dealt with it in a few ways. But I'm just interested to see the feminine version from someone else other than my sort of experience of dealing with it.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Please.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ian. And it makes me think of something I don't think women are very aware of, because they have a little bit of a fairy tale version of what relationship is. But there's a very innate part of relationship where there is tension and there is anxiety between two people. And that's a very big part of like family systems theory. And just because the nature of two people working through intimacy together has pushes and pulls, and she might feel the tension of wanting connection and then wanting freedom, and that constant in-breath and out-breath of what that's like. I would say for her, it's very natural that she is moving in waves, and how she deals with that kind of indicates her personality or her understanding of herself. And if that's just known that there's a natural, like even in an hour, there's can be that wave back and forth. I think when a woman feels the masculine presence with that and awareness of, oh yeah, here's this part of the wave in this moment of time, and I know the next part of the wave is coming in the moment of time, there's less clenching around that, and a recognition that there's something else that she can practice that's in between always one view or the other.
So she's not, he doesn't throw her off of the boat if she's having a storm, an emotional storm, one way or another. He's not angry at her. He can smile a little bit like you did and recognize that this is part of the storm. Yeah. Yeah.
And even just recognizing that, yeah, she's got tensions in her body between how much she's opened and merged with you, and then how much she needs to kind of gather herself and create in her own life. And I think that's a big part of the heroine's journey, is learning that, like a flower, like there's open and there's close, and open and close, and to ride the wave of that.
That's beautifully said. And I'll share this screen that we've talked about before. So be aware within us guys, or within her, there's 3 types of personal work. There's pains from the past that she's had, or even physical wounds will need therapeutic work. That if a wound happened 5 minutes ago, or a car accident happened 5 minutes ago, or an emotional wound that happened 30 years ago for her. That's one type of personal work. Being in the present moment, us being aware and present, and her being with us in this moment, is a spiritual type of practice and awareness in this moment practice. And then skills of ongoing into the future, how to grow something together, vision together, building relationship together. So I believe, as Jeff was insinuating earlier, and we've talked about, women aren't automatically good at relationship. Women aren't automatically good at being present in this moment. And they're not automatically good at being aware of where they're feeling past pains versus a pain that's happening with you. And so they can bring that into the present, even past pains that have happened. So when you talk about gathering, she needs to gather herself, and the ebb and flow of the pull of masculine, feminine, and her uncertainty of being in the relationship with this man in this moment also has these layers of potential pain, or layers of her lack of, let's say, skill in relationship. Is that fair to say? We don't talk about that very often.
Yeah, I mean, especially what you said about sometimes the past she's not cognizant that her past is presenting as her present with you. And she probably doesn't have a lot of skills around this, and she probably has a lot of messaging. And this is why I get so excited to be on calls like this and get to meet men like you, because I don't think women are learning this or have a lot of adeptness. And I don't think they can learn it all amongst themselves. It's feeling the solidity of your masculinity. It's feeling the eagle eye, observing them in their back and forth that help women kind of digest that more, to go deeper within themselves and to be more in their own flow instead of trying to hold on to this riverbank and this riverbank out of fear or a lack of ability.
Yeah, thinking, and underneath this, and I'll bounce back to you in a second, Ian. Underneath this is our own sense of recognition for the value of what we want a relationship to look like. So if a woman isn't stepping up to us, we can have compassion in that moment. But if she isn't stepping up to us chronically, then that's not going to work for us. It reminds me of, my son, my teenage son, he may want to go out to eat for lunch. And he tried to get me to go to McDonald's for a good, basically until he turned 18. He didn't give up on going to McDonald's. And no, I'm not going to McDonald's. I don't want to eat pink slime, or I don't care if it's pink slime anymore or what. I'm not going to eat that shit. So he can ask, but no, I'm not going to McDonald's. And what I put into my mouth, or where I go for food, where I go for lunch or for dinner, is something that I can control. And I can have a set of values around that. I can have expectations for myself within what I put in my body. And if the person with me wants to eat something that I'm allergic to, or that I'm definitely not going to put in my body, I'm going to say no. And it feels the same to me about relationship. Where do you want to go to feed the space between the two of you, energetically, physically, spiritually, and with vision? And if she wants to take you to McDonald's, no, you're not interested in going to McDonald's. You can let her have her point of view, but no, I'm not going to go to fast food. I want nurturing, and I want depth in my relationship. And that's something that you have. That's your vision. That's what you're growing here. That's what you now are learning is possible through this work. So Ian, take us from there. We only have a couple minutes left today on this particular call, but with you, how strongly do you feel you're standing in your own desire and wants for the vision of deep relationship with a woman?
Yeah, I think there's the time. I think that's the coffee. It's the time when you're both in the right space to talk about that and to express those desires. I think potentially when just on the emotional close up, or when the barriers go up, it's the the feeling that always comes with us, certainly myself. It's
Well, interesting. He was still there and then we lost him. See if he comes back in a second. So what does it feel like while Ian's coming back? What does it feel like when a woman's with a man who has expectations for the depth and connection in relationship? I mean, and if she doesn't want to do that, sure, he'll talk. Saturday morning coffee is where Ian was going. Talk about it if they're in relationship already. Mm-hmm. But what's it like when a man does have expectations for the depth and connection in relationship?
Yeah, I mean, initially, let's say she really is opposed to that. Maybe she has anger that there's something being expected of her. That's fine, because ultimately, when the masculine comes with, hey, there is going to be depth here. This is the kind of space I'm going to cultivate. There's a bar raised, and honestly, she can feel your value a whole lot more. And she might have different ways of reacting to that, but it is totally a understanding and feeling the caliber of energy that is your expectation, is your boundary, is your vision.
And you can have a big vision for a relationship. None of us here are at the mercy of someone else dictating what our relationship and sex and intimacy has to look like for the rest of time. Certainly. 36 questions into conversation with my separate wife. Yeah. I mean, you could grab a couple of them. That's part of my point. It's part of my point is grab a couple of them, look online, look for within set number 1. Those are the easier questions, so to speak. And you'll see if she does want to open to you or not. And as we've been speaking about all throughout time, this is about us learning to be the man we want to be. And your ex or separated wife or wife who told you to go pound sand yesterday, she may not be capable the type of relationship that you want. So circling back to what I said at the beginning, she's always going to have a place in your heart, but it's like a death. It's like she's passed away, or that version of you saw of her is no longer. It's like that version of her, or that version of you and relationship with her has passed away. So you will heal if that no longer is in existence. You will heal, and you absolutely can. And we see this every day. Hundreds of men every year, honestly, cultivate phenomenal sex and intimacy with another woman or other women. I have unending examples of that as well, right? So keep your breath full, keep your chest up, right? Keep your shoulders back. Fantastic. And if you want to learn more about us, greatmenmovemountains.com.